Hey everyone, I'm Kevin with JcrOffroad. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to install our Ford Bronco tube doors. Now obviously, if you're going to be installing tube doors, you're going to need to get these factory doors removed and out of the way. There's a ton of in-depth videos on that, how to put them in the factory Ford bags and stuff for storage all over the internet. Go ahead and check those out if that's how you're going to be storing yours. We're just going to be giving you a quick overview of how to get these off so that you can get ours installed. So in your Bronco toolkit, you're going to have this 13mm socket with a ratchet. You're going to have one bolt here on the top hinge, one on the bottom, so you can go ahead and get those removed. Once you have both of those bolts off, you want to make sure to get this electrical connector unhooked. That you just kind of have to push the door back with your thumb and then pull out on the harness, and it'll kind of free that up. Then just grab the top of the door here, the molded handle underneath, and carefully lift it off. Then this can be set off to the side. Now all four of your Bronco doors are going to come off using that same basic procedure. So I'll go ahead and get this back one off, and then we'll show you how our tube doors go on. To get started, you're going to need to work here on the inside of your door. You'll grab your upper hinge bracket. That's going to go in place here in these three mounting holes. Make sure this bent flange is towards the top of the door. And then that's going to install with these 5/8 inch long, 5/16 button heads through the front and flange locking nuts on the inside. Then I'm just going to kind of center this bracket up in its slotted location and lightly snug it down so that we can still adjust that later. Next, working at the back of the door, you can install your latch mounting bracket. It's going to install into these two slots. It'll sit in place just like this, and you'll bolt that in with two more 5/16 button heads and flange locking nuts. And then we're just going to finger tighten this for now, because this will also need to be adjusted once the door is installed. Next, you'll be installing the latch mechanism to this bracket. To make sure you have the correct one as well as in the correct orientation, you want to make sure this latch mechanism is down, this handle is toward the top, and then this handle pivots toward the front of the vehicle. This is going to install through these two side slots using these 1/4 inch hex head mounting bolts with washers. And we're just temporarily going to put that about in the center of the slot and lightly snug it in place. Next, you want to make sure in this outer hole here that you install the black rubber bumper. These can typically be kind of started on one end and worked down in. You may need a small pick or small flat screwdriver just to help push on that rubber edge just a little bit. Then in this top hole, you'll install a 1/4 button head bolt and then a flange locking nut from the bottom side. Use a 5/32 hex to tighten that in place. And then with this tight, the handle can be threaded on from the bottom side and tightened in place. Then the last thing here on the vehicle before that door can go on is you're going to have two spacers that need to be installed, one on each hinge. The taller of the two is going to go here up top. You want to make sure the countersink is facing down. With those in place, you can grab the door, align it over both of these hinges. You're mainly focusing on the top here, so you'll line that one up and then drop the factory mounting bolt down through. Then grab the lower factory mounting bolt. You'll be installing this washer to the top of that hinge bracket and then threading in the bolt. Then you can come back with your last washer and nylock nut and install that on this upper mounting bolt from the bottom side. So on the upper bolt, you're just going to tighten this up with a 13mm socket and wrench. You want to get this just nice and snug. You don't need to go too crazy, but you obviously don't want it to rattle either. Then come down here to the bottom and tighten that as well. Now with the door loosely in place, we're ready to start our adjustment. So if you're doing this on a 2-door, you're going to want to take this back portion of the door and basically just make sure that it's level with the factory body line that would be right in this area. If you're doing it like we are here on a 4-door, you're going to want to make sure that these tubes are just running parallel to one another and that they look correct visually. So I'm just going to lift this up a little bit and then come back up to my front bracket hardware here and tighten these up with my 3/16 hex. Once you have the front tightened up, you're ready to come back here and start working on the latch mechanism. So to start here, you just want to make sure that the height of that latch mounting bracket is correct so that the latching mechanism will catch on the striker when the door is closed. Once you're happy with that, you can kind of try and hold that in place. Open this back up and tighten these two 5/16 button heads, holding that bracket to the door. After you have that bracket tightened in place, you're ready to tighten the latch mechanism. Now for this, it's going to be the part of this door that's probably going to require the most fine tuning. You want to make sure that you have this latch in here vertically, sitting nice. And then you don't want this to rattle, obviously, as you're going down the road. So you're going to have to play with this just a little bit, kind of get it where you think you want it. Then carefully open this back up. You can tighten it in place with a 7/16 wrench. And then go ahead and check the function and operation in here, because you obviously don't want to have to slam these too hard to get them closed, but you want just a little bit of pressure on this rubber bumper. So once you've finished working on this adjustment, you just want to make sure you go back and double check all your hardware is tight, and then you can repeat that same process to install your remaining doors. Now, one thing I did want to point out, once you have that all in place and tight and you're happy with its location, you're not going to have to mess with that in the future. It'll just be the mounting bolts up on the hinges to get these removed and installed quick and easy. So if you guys have any questions at all about this tube door install or any other JCR Off-Road product, you can always reach out to us. You can call us at 269-353-1184 or send us an email at info@jcroffroad.com.